Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Cardellichio. Want to welcome you to our next segment of MD Life segment. I am here with my lovely co-host, Mandy J. Ross. Mandy, how are you today?
Hey, y'all. I am so happy. Obviously, we had a little chat before we went live, and I think I'm reflecting Toronto sunshine today. I feel bright and bubbly as always, and I'm so excited to dive into today's topic.
You know, this is going to be a great topic. And when we were discussing what topics we should discuss and what we were going to go with, I think this is really, really a good topic. But before we do that, let's discuss who we are, right? So Mandy, catalyst for positive change, international TV and media personality, and speaker, writer, model, mindset, and manifestation coach. I love that about you. All right. You get people, you get individuals, the purpose, they want to live their happiest, most successful, aligned, loving lives. I like that. I'm Dr. Dan. I'm a chiropractic physician. I am a clinical nutritionist. I'm an entrepreneur. I mentor young people on how to be an entrepreneur. I was doing that earlier today and yesterday, and trying to help them out and trying to help them build their lives and contribute and so forth and so on. So we're going to talk about detox today. We're going to talk about detoxing different areas of your life so you can attract what you want. We were saying, Mandy, it's a beautiful day here in New Jersey too. Spring has sprung. And
Spring
so
definitely sprung.
all I got to say is thanks. It was a long winter here in New Jersey. So I am happy. I can't wait till I get to the beach, but that's for another segment. So
Totally.
So detox your life, Mandy. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into this topic. There's so many different areas we can cover in life. And it's funny because it is one of those things that most often I think people are familiar with, doing a cleanse of your body and your diet. But when we're talking about detoxifying and cleansing, it's just as equally as important to ask yourself what you might need to cleanse or detox your life from. And it's one of these things that I think probably last year, like I've always been one of these people that, especially around times like New Year's, I've been very aware of kind of doing an inventory of different areas of my life and going like, what's working, what's not working, and what do I need to release, basically. And when we're talking physical body, like we're gonna go, I think it's easiest probably for y'all watching if we do something like kind of go through the mind, the body, and then sort of the soul and lifestyle in general, because those three are kind of the biggies for me.
I love that.
But last year, I would say in particular, probably earlier last year, and I'll include a link to a YouTube video, to a video that I did that was called How to Detoxify Your Life. And it had like detoxifying yoga, I believe, but also some really deeper conversations around like how to really deep dive and clean your life of things that might not be serving you any longer.
I love that because there are times when you have to clean out your closet or detoxify your life because there may be aspects of it that aren't working for you anymore. There may be individuals in your life that are not working anymore, and there may be thoughts that you may have to get rid of that are not working anymore. And on the physical end, we're still coming out of this pandemic. People are eating still poorly, and it's a great time to detox, cleanse your physical body. But let's talk about your mind first.
Sure, absolutely. I'm glad that we started with this because, whether you're trying to shed weight physically, not that that's always the case, but, or if you're trying to get rid of things, in your body that maybe your digestive tract isn't running properly. Maybe you're feeling stress in your life in other areas. Whatever the case may be, it's always important to do a mental inventory. And absolutely. I will say for myself, one of the biggest areas I think that I actually I'd say a couple of years back, especially, ironically enough, being an influencer content creator, someone who's a YouTuber, very active online, I started doing something called the digital detox. And for me, especially as someone who appreciates and sees, the benefits and the value of social media and being online and digital experience, etc., I found it really beneficial, and I felt so much more refreshed to go back to my online community when I actually allowed myself time away from it. I think it's something, now that everyone is more apt to be home right now, especially, typically, not everybody, but a lot of people are so at home these days with lockdowns and whatnot. I think it's important to really do an inventory as to how much time you're actually spending on these apps.
You know why? Because do you find that people that you're, manifesting, do they spend a lot of time, maybe too much time on some of these apps, and maybe some of these apps aren't the best, right?
Yeah, I think I don't want to lay the blame game and say it's like always, the apps that it's never the, what do they say? It's never the thing. It's always like how you're using that thing,
right?
For example, like, say it's alcohol and someone is an alcoholic. It's
right.
not to blame the alcohol. It's, it's not even to blame the person, but understand that it's not the thing that's the bad thing. I don't want to give it a label like that. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say in the coaching space, or people that I've worked with, anything can be, even if it's a healthy thing, it can be taken to an excess, which is an imbalance, and that is not good for you.
Right. And we have some people watching us today. So whoever's watching us, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. I have a friend of mine right now, Linda Stevens. Hi, Linda. If you have any questions, Linda, ask away, and we'll be more than happy to.
Absolutely. And also, if you're going to be watching the replay of this on my YouTube channel, please do comment below. We always love to hear what y'all have to say about these things. We do these, these beautiful interviews or chats with one another so that we can have these kind of conscious conversations and involve this community that we love.
All right. Well, Linda has said hi, Doc. Hi, Linda. How are you? I hope all is well with you guys. So, we haven't spoken in a while, so let's speak over the next couple of days. So let's talk about now a mind detox. Let's take it a step further. Let's take it a step.
So, that's really what it's going to boil down to for this is ridding yourselves of thoughts that are no longer serving you.
Right.
And one of the best ways that you can do this is there's two things. One is the positive mental diet. I'll put a link for the video above on how to have a better, more serving mental diet for yourself. But basically, in essence, it's again doing an inventory of the thoughts that are constantly the dominant thoughts in your head that are going over and over and over. And are they serving you? Are they helping you to progress in your life? Are they actually are they deterring you from achieving your goals? One of the things that I like to, it's kind of I'm a really big fan of alliteration. I'm sure if you figured out by now, but one of the things I like to say is like your thoughts are either, and this is a conversation I actually had the other day where I found in my life, I used to be that person to say like, there can be the middle kind of ground and whatnot, but the more and more I guess evolve, I'm realizing for myself anyways, my way of thinking about it is things are usually black and white. They really are. And I actually am someone who really prefers like a yes or a no or a black and a white, like very, extremes, because you start to realize like there is no such thing as sort of a in-between thought in your mind. You're either having thoughts that are helping you or they're going to hinder you. They're either positive thoughts or they're negative thoughts. There really isn't such a thing as like a so-so kind of in between. It's either working in your favor or it's actually, bringing you further away from your goals. And I know you and I have touched on this a little bit. It really boils down to having that winning sort of victor mindset. Or if you're somebody who has a victim sort of, life bleeps on me, I'm always losing, everything happens to me versus that person that's like, hey, everything's happening for me. Everything's an opportunity for me in my life.
So we have a question. Okay, we have a question, and it's coming from Linda Stevens. She is a friend of mine. Linda, just by way of a background, she has a master's in nutrition. Her and I went to school together a while back. Okay, and she is an IFBB pro, and she has a company where she deals with midlife females, and they have a hard time, she says, sleeping midlife females because they overthink everything. What can we apply to that in terms of a mental detox so that they can get over that overthinking situation?
Absolutely. So I do actually have a video that I created on my YouTube channel. If y'all are tuning in there, you can go and check it out. Otherwise, we can put a link below. But it's basically how to set yourself up for success with a bedtime routine. And one of the things I do mention, I believe in that video, and even if I don't go in depth in there, I'll say it here. One of the things that can be really helpful is having like a writing routine at night. And in this case, what you could suggest to your clients, Linda, is do something like a mental dump, where basically if there's things that they can't get off of their mind literally, I like to have this phrase that I talked about this recently, I think in another interview. It's like your head to your heart, your heart to your hand to the pen to the paper. And it's kind of like this release of everything that's going on up here, whether it's negative or positive. It doesn't have to always be negative. But at nighttime especially, it's literally kind of that metaphor of like dumping out what's going on in your head onto paper. And sometimes it's nice to just journal about things, right? But if it doesn't even have to be like you're journaling, sentences, it could literally be just like jot points of everything that's kind of a bullet point, right? Yeah, exactly, stuck up here. And what I would highly suggest, just from I'd say the manifestation mindset coach that I am, I would start to create affirmations that are the opposite of what is kind of at the root of each of those things. Because it's usually tends to be things that are on your mind because you're usually feeling like anxiety or stress or things like that around certain situations or people or things. So I would affirm the opposite. So let's say, for example, or this is where the revision that I talked about can come in handy. So say it's something that happened during your day that you're not very happy with. You could write down, just literally be honest, write down a sentence to describe what happened. And then you could create an affirmation around like revising it to what you wanted to actually happen. So in your mind, you can start to revise it and picture a scenario that would have been ideal for that situation. And that's getting more into the quantum physics. That's getting more into the energy so that you energetically are releasing it and also changing and shifting the energy around that situation to then be at peace. And when you start to affirm the opposite of whatever you're feeling, so say you could even make it as simple as I'm feeling really anxious right now, I'm feeling really stressed. You could say, I feel at ease, I feel so peaceful, and keep affirming those beautiful positive affirmations to yourself. Because again, what we plant up here are seeds that are going to manifest without. The other thing I would suggest, I know this is kind of like a longer answer, but the thing is, I like to give multiple exercises that people can do, because for some, writing might be wonderful. For others, visualization might work. But the other thing that I absolutely swear by in my own life, and also for my coaching clients and just people in general who I speak with on a daily basis, EFT tapping. And we've talked about this before. We talked about that, right? Is amazing because it literally is a way for you to tap out, with your acupressure points, different parts of your body, and you tap, and there's meridians that basically allow you to release the stress that's built up inside. So if it is more of a stress kind of anxiety feeling, I would highly suggest EFT tapping, and I'll put a link to the video for that above as well. Yeah, that's great. And Linda is thanking you. She says great ideas in order to help out her clients, because I know Linda, like I said, so she's making transformations of females and midlife, and that's a time where both females and males are feeling not so good about themselves. And I was talking with somebody about this yesterday, and Linda, if you're still listening,
listening, she is an IFBB pro and she's 63 years old and she's got the passion and so forth for life. And she has that.
You go,
yeah,
girl.
Yeah, she has that positive mindset in doing some of the stuff that we're discussing today, and I'm 59 years old. I still get up in the morning and I put my feet on the floor and I'm ready to rock and roll. My wife had said, when are you going to retire? I said, I'm never going to retire.
Never.
No, I'm just going. I'm going. Yeah, forget about that, right? I'm from New Jersey. Forget about it. That's not going to happen. But I love those. I love it. She said, I'm a young man. Linda, I love you. I do.
I always say, I love this one saying, and I literally will say it for the rest of my life. Age only matters if you're a wine or a cheese.
That is true. I like to have a little cheese with my wine too, and some Italian things and so forth and so on. See that? Linda loves us back. It's all good. So thank you, Linda. If you have any other questions, Linda, just jump in, please.
Totally.
So those are some great ideas. Journaling, writing, and doing some of that EFT tapping, which we did. Go back to that, to our last podcast that we did, and you can get some information out of there. Now, let's talk about,
like, when we're speaking mental too, I think something that's become really apparent for me is just the material. Like, as much as I always say, everything is an inside job, whether it's happiness, self-love, whether it's confidence, whether it's feeling whole and complete, it's always going to be an inside job. But that's not to say that your external influences or external choices in what you participate in aren't, going to affect you. Because when it comes to things like even something as, something like music or what you're any type of content you're allowing into your reality, I'm not going to say that it has to affect you. But as humans, typically what happens is when we experience something externally, it's unless you're a very strong-minded person, at least for an instant, your focus, your attention goes in that direction of whatever that thing is, right? That's where the real mental sort of power comes into play, right? So something even that I suggest, whether again it's coaching clients or just in general, I talk about this. One thing that I've done for myself, because music is a huge part of my life. Like, I am a singer. I definitely would say I'm a musician. I love music. I love listening to all types of music. But in particular, I've become very particular with the type of music I allow to be played around me anymore that I listen to, because even things like lyrics, if you listen to lyrics over and over again, that gets penetrated into your subconscious, whether you could look at music as another form of meditation, like the words that are in those songs, as much as you might not think that they're really affecting you, they really are.
Right. Sure. And it's very important to, if you're listening to music, and I noticed this, it's interesting that you're saying this, Mandy. Growing up in the 70s, it was the album rock, generation, and 60s and so forth and so on. And there were certain artists, and I'm not going to mention who they are, but were a little down and depressing. And those people were listening to that. They were kind of down and depressing as opposed to listening to a more uplifting, album or song from a particular solo artist or a particular band. I noticed that. And some of my friends that listen to some of these individuals that were, a little bit on the, I don't know if I want to use the depressive side, but they were kind of down. And they were kind of sluggish and down in addition to. So I find that interesting. Now, here's the other thing. Don't ask me to sing, because if we're going to lose all of our, we're going to.
Don't worry. If we're ever stuck somewhere, Dan, and one of us has to sing, I'll be the singer. It's all good. You'll
be the singer. I can dance a little bit.
I can string a little bit on the guitar. We're good.
All right. So I'll do the dancing. You do the singing. You don't want me. Andy, we're going to lose all of our viewers at that point. It's going to go.
That's so funny. Oh my God. I love singing. Singing and dancing too. Like I'll sing and dance. We're good. We're covered. But
it works out.
I guess like part of this detox is you know, whether and we're going to get into body and we'll get into lifestyle too, but I think it's also important to note, like, you know, part of doing a detox is ridding yourself of what's not working so you can make time for things that you actually love. You know what I mean? So
you create
like,
that void, right? You create that void.
Sorry?
You create that void. Now
Exactly.
you can add something else in.
Exactly. And we'll be talking about that in relationships in a moment. But first, I think it makes sense to maybe move on to body. Because I mean, body to me is something that obviously you and I both in our own ways have been very into working with physical bodies, you know, your background being a chiropractor, and also both of us sharing that nutritional background, but also myself as someone who has instructed yoga and meditation, and also just someone who's very physically active, and even being a YouTuber who's done fitness videos. Like, physical body is something that I think still, even though I'm gonna say mindset is always gonna trump or be the priority, because what you tell yourself is ultimately how you're able to like literally shape your physical body. But physical body is still very important, because as we've spoken about in other conversations, what you feed yourself is ultimately going to have a big impact on how you feel.
Each one of these are intertwined, right?
Totally.
So if
body, mind, spirit, like body, mind, spirit, unison.
Right, because if you are not detoxing the mind and you feel bad about yourself, sometimes you reach to that food that's not so good. Then you feel even worse. Now you got that perpetual momentum going downward instead of upward. So that's important. And to detox your body is important too, because number one, a lot of the foods that we're eating are not exactly the most healthy, right? Number two, you know, we live in an ever increasing toxic environment and chemicals and so forth and so on. So the better way to do it is eat, you know, organic veggies, eating organic chicken, meat, grass-fed meat, you know, eating wild caught fish such as salmon, you know, those broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. From a body perspective, that helps detoxify your body significantly, especially coming out of I mean, you and I have spoken about the pandemic multiple times. Coming out of this pandemic, people are eating poorly. So this is a great time. Spring has sprung.
Totally.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now's the time to do the house cleaning, if you will. Right.
Yeah.
And
I like to say the internal spring cleaning, you know?
That's great. I love that.
Along with what you said about food, I mean, I think we have similar views on diet, in that, like, you want to make sure that you're putting in high quality foods into your body. Like, your body is meant to perform optimally, and it really is a matter of, I mean, you can manifest. I'm gonna play like the devil's advocate here. You can manifest anything, so I'm just gonna say that first off. But for me, like, honestly, I always feel my best when I eat as straight from the earth as possible. Right. So, you know, there's been times when I've noticed a change in my diet, and it is really everything to do with, even if it might be one thing in my diet that's not working for me, you know. And there are certain foods or certain types of foods that just, I find I don't feel my most like, I don't feel like I'm thriving when I eat these things. And I've mentioned some of them before, you know. Right. A lot of the kind of the white stuff, right? Like, for me, you know, white flour, white sugar, I don't know, there's salt, like too much salt even. Like, there's a lot of things that affect me and make me not feel so good. And I'm not going to sit here, and I know you feel probably the same, like, there's pretty basic diet and nutrition things that I think we both agree upon. Right. And I'm not going to say that one diet, there's never going to be a time when I say one diet works for everybody. You really have to tune into your body and ask yourself, how do you feel? How do you feel when you eat certain foods? Like, that's the number one question I've said to people in the past who have done health coaching with, you know, it's like, how do you feel?
Right. It's very important, because the food's going to affect the mind, it's going to affect the soul. And like we said, they're all intertwined. And it's important to eat the right type of diet, you know, especially during this time. You want to remain healthy. You want a healthy immune system. You want to have a clear mind. When you're detoxifying your life, you don't want to feel like you're got the brain fog, like you're underneath water and you can't think straight, because that's not the time to do it. You want to be able to think clearly. Now, let's go on to the next topic. Detoxing your relationships. Whoa. That could be, that's definitely
one of the biggie ones under the lifestyle, because I really am a proponent of, you really do start to become who you surround yourself with most. I know there's that common saying, but it is true. Now, again, I'm always going to say you can manifest any version of anyone that you want. One of the big questions I've asked myself in my life, being a conscious creator and I guess I would call myself a master manifestor at this point, because I've manifested. I mean, we're always manifesting because what we think, our thoughts create, you know, everything in our reality are things that we've manifested, whether they're ideal or not ideal. It's all our own doing. That's my train of thoughts. But that being said, like, I've had to ask myself a lot, not so much recently, but I'd say probably in the last couple of years, especially in my life, I've had to ask myself, is it worth my time and energy? Like, do I really care to have to manifest a new version of this one person? Or would I rather just would I rather create in my mind the ideal version of a type of person I want, or the type of people I want in my life, and just allow those people to be magnetically drawn to me by virtue of me working on myself? Because you really got to do, like, again, I always go back to do an inventory. And to be honest, it's kind of like a funny metaphor to compare, but it's very similar. Like, I always say the same thing. When you're around somebody, how do they make you feel? It's not that different than the metaphor of food, right? Like, does a food energize you when you have a lot of it? Does it make you feel your best? Are you happy? Are you uplifted? Are you feeling positive? Do they make you feel? And it's not to say, like, your feelings should not stem from somebody externally, but you just know, right, Dan? Like, there are people in your life who, it doesn't matter, whenever you're around them, you just feel like bubbly, you know, you feel happy, you feel positive, right? And
you want them to be a positive force in your life. You want them to support you. You want them to challenge you. You want them to bring you to a higher plane, and you want to do the same for them. It's just not a one-sided, it's two-sided.
Give and take. It's a give and take. I like to say win relationships, you know, like having a win-win relationship. And I think when it comes to this, it's sometimes, you know, it could even be family members. So it's not as though you can necessarily that's a good, let's roll with this one, because I think this is something common, that whether it's someone maybe you're romantically interested in, or even maybe you're married to, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a longtime friend, and it's somebody, let's say, who you don't want to, or even maybe are in a situation where you can't get rid of them. This is where something like revision can come in handy, so much so. And what do I mean by revising this person? There's only two reasons why people ever show up in the way that they do in your reality. One is if you have a low self-concept. I'll put, again, the video for self-concept earlier in the video up there, if not here. But if you need to work on you, because ultimately everyone's a pushed out version of either basically what you believe yourself to be, or what you believe you're worthy of in your life. So if you have a really low self-concept, chances are you're going to attract, let's just say, low vibrational people to match that vibration within.
Correct.
The only other real reason why someone might not be showing up as, say, the best or ideal version of themselves in your reality is because you keep tuning in. It's like I've said this about, you know, tuning into different radio stations. You keep focused on that one version of that person. So say if there's someone who maybe doesn't treat you very nicely, or there's real time, the phone's ringing. If there's someone who either doesn't treat you well, or maybe they're just not showing up in a way that like makes you feel really amazing when they're around you. Right. It's because you haven't created a new story of them, or you're not focused on the good. Right. You're not focused enough. You're not dominantly focused on the good that exists within them, because we all have different, we can show up as different people. And I know this, that you can relate if you're watching, because I'm sure around certain people you act one way, around other people they maybe bring out another side of you. So you know, you can do the same if you start focusing on that wonderful, loving, positive, supportive, beautiful version of that person. Ultimately, they are eventually going to have to show up. The more you focus on that version of them, they have to show up. It's inevitable. That's just the way
inevitable. I agree with you, because if you can work on that best version of yourself, it really has a domino effect with everybody, right? And if they don't show up, if that other person doesn't show up at some point in time, then you may have to detox this relationship, or
that's when you have to make the call, right? It's like, it's knowing that you're always in control. Ultimately, you can keep everyone who's already in your life, and you can internal see, and this is why it's just, sometimes I even tell people, especially if it's a romantic thing, or like say a friend or someone really close to them, sometimes I even suggest like actually having, like cutting yourself off from that person and having no contact. And there's two things that I usually suggest. One is working on self-concept. So, you know, there's tons and tons of material I have online on that, on my YouTube channel and elsewhere, or working with a coach one-on-one. But the other thing that I say is like, maybe even taking a no contact with that person, and just affirming only for that version of them that you want, because sometimes actually being around them is too triggering for you. And it's kind of like, people have to have time typically to conform into that version. You know, it's no different than, say, if someone is working towards achieving a goal. Well, you're shifting this story around this person. So if you don't have that version, that non-ideal version in your face all the time, it's probably a lot easier to like not see them for a bit, and then behind the scenes know that they're changing, and they'll show up when they're actually that better version that you'd prefer in your life or your reality. Right.
And Linda has said, being authentic is so important in life. And and you and I both agree. And you know what was interesting? You know what's interesting about this part of the conversation is that I was talking with my business coach earlier today. Yes, I have a business coach too, and I have a mentor. And we were talking about this when it comes to customers and patients, right? And how to help them along in this respect. And it seems like it's such a powerful tool to help out in your personal relationships, in your business relationships, whether you're a dad, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a son, a daughter, aunt, uncle, right? This is so important in so many different aspects of it.
Oh, totally. I think your relationships, I mean, this is the thing, and I think I'll get into sort of a mushy Mandy moment here, but I think also even just
mushy
with
Mandy.
family, you know, mushy Mandy, my little.
I like it.
But that's the thing, like even recently, you know, I've always been a huge family person. That's just my personality. That's just, you know, family's always been a huge priority to me. And like my parents are two of my best friends. And if y'all follow me on social media, you know this. But that's the thing for me. It's like, sometimes there have been times in my life when I don't even necessarily feel like I have, you know, enough. I don't want to intend that, but let's just say I haven't had enough time to spend with all the beautiful people in my life. So it's like, is it really worth wasting? That's really what I look at it. Like, time is a precious asset. Is it worth wasting on people that are just not that good for you? Like, that's kind of the question that I ask myself. You know, like I have so many beautiful people in my life already. And it's not to say like when it, you know, I was having a conversation around kind of all this stuff we're talking about too recently. And it's kind of like, again, I think we had this, you and I chatted about this too. It's like, kind of, what do you bring to the table? Right. And like, I know what I have to offer. What do you like? Is there going to be some sort of equal exchange here? Because
Right.
if you feel whole and complete, if you feel like you have like such a rich, full, juicy life, the only type of real people that I care to, you know, have come in have to at least add like positivity or something. You know what I mean?
I
Otherwise,
fully agree with you. And
yeah,
this
like,
is not, to me, this is not being nasty. This is self-care. Everybody
this
should
is
be doing
self-care.
this. It's self-care. So if somebody's habitually bringing you down and they're not building you up and you can't build them up, and you don't have that positive vibe, that positive energy with each other, I mean, sometimes you have to detox your relationships at times, you know. And during the pandemic, you know, that the old joke is, in 9 months there's going to be a lot of babies, or in 9 months there's going to be a lot of divorces that are going on, right? I mean, it happens that way. It definitely.
Totally. Well, that's the thing too. I think I do believe that, you know, times of struggle can really bring out like, because I was going to finish that with, can really bring out, you know, like heightened emotions, and they can be, you know, kind of or it doesn't even have to be emotions, but like insights, right?
Right.
Like, this is a time when a lot of us have been able to be at it's 444 angel numbers.
There you
You
go.
know, I'm totally that person that's going to say that. Angel numbers, repeating numbers. No, I was going to say, like, you know, this whole thing that we've all been, you know, I'd say just what's going on in the world has really like allowed most of us to have more time, let's say, to really evaluate our lives, and to really have more time to sort of do things that we're hopefully more passionate about. It's given us a little bit more time to be more introspective. And I think you also, you know, again, it's like, even detoxing your life, like that takes a little bit of effort to have to sit down and go like, hey, what maybe should I be working on? Because, and I actually had this conversation with a coaching client recently where I said, you know, as humans, a lot of times we end up doing things after a while, not because they're necessarily good for us anymore, but because they're familiar. Just as humans, we like it's the
Familiarity, right? Sure.
There's comfort and familiarity, but just because it's comfortable doesn't necessarily mean it's good for us.
Doesn't mean it's good, right?
So that's why it's important. I think, you know, we've done so much on relationships now. I think soul lifestyle wise, there's a lot of other things that we can look at in terms of detoxing. And I think for you and I, let's
look at the soul.
I think one big one for a lot of people that has also been triggered and questioned in this whole worldly phenomena we're dealing with is, you know, purpose and work. Like, what do I mean by detoxifying your work and purpose? Well, in another way put, I think it's important to continuously ask yourself, do you feel like the work that you're doing is feeding your soul and your sort of divine destiny? And also, I think it's important. I think we all, to some degree, want to feel like we're giving back greater than ourselves in some way. So is the work that you're doing really firing you up? Is it really lighting you up? Is it also allowing you to change the world in a positive way? Maybe you can speak a little bit on this too, Dan.
Yeah, you know what? This is something that I have been talking a lot about when I'm mentoring individuals that are entrepreneurs. I mean, you know, we're again, I hate to keep saying it, but yet we're still in the midst of this pandemic. And how are you contributing, you know, through your life's work? You know, are you part of something bigger than yourself? And if you do sit there and you're successful as an entrepreneur and you love what you're doing, and it touches your soul, what are you doing to help out? And what is it that you're doing to make the world a better place? I think that's important to note. And I've posted about, Mandy, I posted about this multiple times, you know, through my social media company that we deal with, and me personally. And some people actually got upset about this because it's like, oh, we're in the middle of this thing, if you will, and why are you saying those things? And I'm like, well, because I do want to motivate, and I do want to educate, and I do want to inspire. And I'm not minimizing anything. I do want something, you know, you want something positive to come out of this. So during this, and you're doing your self-reflection, and you're saying to yourself, well, you know what, self, I really love what I do, or maybe I don't like what I do. And maybe I do want to do something different with my life. And I want to contribute in a different way. It was a perfect time to figure some of that stuff out so that your life's work can touch your soul. Because once it does that, you just spread that throughout, everything that you do, right? You just spread that out through everything that you do. And, what I've realized is that I love what I do. I don't, I could be entrepreneurial. I can, we can buy a building and fix it up and rent it out for somebody to live in and maybe sell it. And somebody has a nice house. That's great. If that's what you want to do. But that, being this chiropractor and being this nutritionist, it really jazzes me. After 30 plus years, that's a long time of doing this. And I can't wait till I get to the office every day. I love the challenge of being an entrepreneur. I love the challenge of helping people out. I love the challenge of getting them better and having them live the best versions of themselves that they can live in addition to.
That is so beautiful, because that's exactly how you should feel. And I mean, that's the thing. I think the whole point of even us talking about this detox isn't to say that, like, I mean, you might not feel like you need to detox this area of your life, and that's okay. And you also might be someone sitting out there who might feel like maybe you actually need to just work on you right now, and that's okay too. Like, we're all going through different things. We're all different souls, on different evolutionary journeys. And it doesn't mean that you have to change. It doesn't mean you have to change your world. In fact, the most important world you ever need to change is this inner world, first and foremost. So, if this needs a lot of work, take the time to actually, because sometimes that's the trap that some people can also get into. And I think that's important to evaluate, is like, are you constantly just pouring yourself out? Are you constantly giving and forgetting, the source, which is always you. So I think that's important to know. Now, if you feel like, obviously we're always all working on, hopefully working on progressing ourselves within. Now, if that's the case, that you feel pretty full, then yes, absolutely, certainly pour from that fulfilled and overflowing cup. That's really what I think life is meant to be, is working to become the best version of you, so you can share your beautiful gifts and beautiful talents and with the world. Now, when it comes to actually figuring out what that is, I think you nailed it, Dan. And I feel the same way. Like, most days I just honestly jump out of bed because I'm so bleeping excited to create and to inspire and to empower and to make this positive impact. And that didn't come, it's not like my life has just been unicorns and roses and like, rainbows all the time. Like, there's been times, old story, of course, that, I had to do a lot of soul dive deeping and even heal things that weren't that comfortable at the time. But because I was able to do that whole process, I can now, feel bright and alive, and literally, like, I just feel so, like, fired up. Like, I just feel fired up in my life. Like,
I do want to say this too, is that for those that are listening right now, or those that are listening at some time in the future, we're not talking about a Pollyanna type of a situation. We're talking about being positive, because once you get to that point, you see the possibilities. You see the solutions, right? Because if you're in that negative mindset and you're not detoxing yourself, whatever part of that is, we recommend all of them. You're not going to see the limitless possibilities that are there for you. And I think that's important, because a lot of people, when they listen, they're like, oh, Mandy and Dan, they're just positive people. Their heads are out in the clouds or something like that. No. As you've just said, you've just admitted that you've gone through some difficult times in your life. And so have I. We all have. Right? But if we're looking at it from a different perspective, and we are positive, and we know that it's going to turn out better tomorrow than it was today. You can start feeling better. And when you're starting to feel better, you see those possibilities. You see those decisions that you can make for the better for yourself, your family, or whatever that is for you. You can see that, and then you can go and you can rock and roll with that. Linda Stevens says, thank you both. And she put a little heart. So she's liking our conversation. You're welcome, Linda.
You're so welcome, love.
Yeah,
no,
so
you're absolutely right. And that's the thing I always say to people is like, your history does not determine your destiny. Your history does not determine your destiny. What happened even 1 second ago or years ago does not determine what you are today.
Totally
and it
agree.
doesn't determine what you are going to become. And one of my favorite affirmations, and one that I say to myself every day, and anyone listening, y'all can take this, whether you're a female or male. I'll make it, neutral, generic right now, but I love the person I am, and I love the person I'm becoming. So if you're a man or a woman, you can swap it with, I love the woman I am, and I love the woman I'm becoming. Or you can say, I love the man that I am, and I love the man that I am becoming. Say, I absolutely am in love with the person I am, and I absolutely am in love with that person that I am becoming.
And it gets you.
That is what the whole detox is about. It's like, it's just, you, and it doesn't have to even, if you're somebody that likes, sitting down and literally, going through every area of your life and making notes and all that, great. To me, it's become like, I think for you as well, it sounds like in your life, you kind of just have this internal compass at this point where things either feel really good for you or they feel like they're not so good, and you kind of detox like naturally as things come up, right?
Right. Exactly right. And I think that's important to say, because if you're not accustomed to this, right? And you're not accustomed to saying, I'm ecstatic about the man or woman that I'm becoming and who I am, and it may feel uncomfortable in the beginning. It may feel uncomfortable in the beginning, and it may take some time in order for you to become, but you got to start somewhere.
Totally.
Whether there's been a past situation, detox those really quick. Get them out.
And that's when you can revise too. You can literally do revision on the spot. Like you can literally shift the energy that is attached. And that's also the reason why this exercise to like do a detox of your life is so important. Is there are times, even with my coaching clients, even myself, and I'm sure you too, there are times when you might think you're all that, you're all good, you're totally healed and whatnot, but you get triggered. And our triggers are some of the best feedback we can receive, because that allows you to actually, like, it gives you basically an indication that something actually isn't healed from your past. And I always say, when you can make peace with your past, that's when you actually can have a positive present and a positive future. But you have to make peace with that past.
I agree with you 100%. Make peace with your past. Detox your past. Because if you can't do that, you're not going to move forward. All right? Your past doesn't mean that that's who you are. And it doesn't mean that that is your destiny, as it says. That's that meme that you see. It's not. I promise you, Mandy, and I promise you that. However, get through that detox. Quicker you do it, the better off you're going to be. Don't wallow away in it for years on end.
Totally.
Get through it, because on the other end of that are rainbows and it is sunshine.
Totally.
And again,
there's always light.
Yeah, there's always light.
Right?
And
it's a duality. It's like, I talk about shadow work, and like, you can go into the Carl Jung stuff, which I absolutely adore. If you haven't checked out Carl Jung's work, please do. But there is shadow work that has to be done, and it's something that doesn't necessarily always get talked about in the spiritual community as much as I think, kind of the other side, which is that light, rainbow, unicorn, happiness, positivity. But there's lots of discussions around positivity in general. Yeah, it's not about having a Pollyanna anything. Like, I'm very aware, I'm not naive.
I'm aware of what's going on. I'm aware of what's going on.
I'm very innocent, but like, I'm not naive. And I think there's a big difference.
Right. Totally. We're almost done today, Mandy.
We're almost done. The last thing I was going to say, I know we don't have time to dive deep, but I'd say the last kind of areas to really take note of, I mean, there's tons, but things like your daily habits, your daily routine, also your activities outside of work, again, ask yourself, how do you feel? And are these things that are serving the ideal reality or goals that you want to have, appear in your life?
Absolutely. Well, this has been an excellent conversation. I think I learned also from listening to you, Mandy.
Well, ditto.
I
I always
learned
say we're
from
both not just you and I, but in general in life, I always consider myself a student and a teacher at the same time.
100%, 100%. I think we can go on for hours more regarding this conversation, but we'll be back in a couple of few weeks and we'll pick up from there. So, Mandy, where can people find you?
Thanks, Dan. I'd say the number one place would be www.mandyjross.com. And on social media, I'm pretty much everywhere at Mandy J. Ross.
Excellent. And I'm Dr. Dan. You find me at suburbanwellnessgroup.com, greenleafbewell.com. Just Google Cardellichio. Not many Cardellichios out there. If you put Daniel Cardellichio, I come up and you'll see me on Facebook, Instagram, and so forth and so on.
Well, Dan, I think we're all unicorns.
Yes, we are. What does that mean that we're all unicorns for those of us that are listening?
We're all one of a kind, beautiful, unique snowflakes in this wonderful, beautiful world.
Absolutely, 100%. So, Mandy, this has been a great conversation today.
As always, we are wishing y'all a beautiful, blessed day out there.
It's getting better and better. So for those of you that are listening, give Mandy a call, contact her, give me a call, contact me. Please share this with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. We love to motivate. We love to educate. We love to inspire. Mandy, do you have anything else you want to say before we get off the air today?
Yes, one last thing. I want to say a huge, huge shout of love and gratitude to my Pave Your Paradise community. I'm almost at 14,000 on my YouTube. It might even be past that by the time y'all watch this episode. But thank you. I love y'all. I create all this content just for you. So please make sure and thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, as Dan mentioned. I'm just so grateful for y'all, and keep spreading the love and positivity. That's really what it's all about.
Keep moving forward, and we will see you in about a month. Be the best versions of yourself. Thank you very much. It means a lot to us for listening. Take care now.